It starts in a quiet moment. The bill is paid, the account for now is balanced. There is no emergency. But the mind doesn't stop. It's already moving to the next thing, the next month, the unexpected repair, the price of groceries next week. It's a background hum, a constant low-grade calculation running behind everything else. This isn't just worrying about being broke, it's something else. It's the mind treating money like a complex equation that must be solved and resolved and checked again. Every financial decision, even a small one, gets pulled into this internal conference room. Should I buy this? What if I need that money later? Is there a better price? What does this purchase say about me? It's exhausting. The person feels the weight of it in their body. A tightness in the shoulders when thinking about the rent. A shallow breath when reviewing the bank app. It's the feeling of being permanently on call. Your mind the only employee in a 24-hour risk assessment department. The world sees someone who is responsible, careful, maybe even frugal. But inside, it's a cycle of anticipation and review. Why does this happen? Psychology suggests it's rarely about greed. It's about safety. For this mind, money isn't just currency. It's the primary metric for stability. It's the wall between order and chaos. So the constant thinking, the over-analysis, is a form of vigilance. It's the mind's attempt to patrol that wall, to spot threats from a mile away. It's trying to think its way to security. If you recognize this pattern, that feeling of your thoughts constantly circling back to numbers, to forecasts, to what-ifs, you're not alone. Many of us have minds that work this way. I'd be curious to know, in the comments, what your first memory is of thinking this carefully about money. It often starts earlier than we realize. The function is clear. Control. By mentally simulating every possible outcome, the broken car, the medical bill, the job loss, the mind is trying to rehearse for disaster. It believes that by anticipating the pain, it can soften the blow. The problem is, the rehearsal never ends. The stage is always set, the lights are always on, and the actor is growing very, very tired. This mental pattern creates a specific type of loneliness. Because how do you explain to someone that you're tired from thinking? That your day was consumed not by physical labor, but by the invisible labor of forecasting and reassessing? You can't point to it. You just feel the drain. So we begin here, with this quiet scene of calculation. Not in a crisis, but in the calm. That's where the overthinking mind is most visible, because it has no real fire to fight. So it scans the horizon for smoke, convinced that if it looks hard enough, it can prevent the flames. This pattern of thinking doesn't appear out of nowhere. It's learned. It's an algorithm written by experience. Often, it starts in the environment where money was more than just money. It was a source of tension, a symbol of limitation, or the unpredictable element in the house. Maybe it was hearing the careful, strained tone in a parent's voice when discussing the mortgage. The specific silence that fell after an unexpected expense was mentioned. The way a gift might be given, but accompanied by a subtle, unspoken message about its cost. In these moments, a young mind learns a fundamental lesson. Money is not neutral. It is charged. It is emotional. It is tied directly to security and to peace. The mind, being adaptive, starts to build a defense. It thinks, if I can just understand it, track it, predict it, then maybe I can help. Maybe I can prevent the worry. Maybe I can create some safety. This is where the vigilance is born. It's a childhood strategy for coping with uncertainty that gets carried into adulthood. The world changes, but the internal system keeps running the old program. A person might hear a phrase from their past echo in their head. Something like, money doesn't grow on trees, or we have to be careful. But it's not the words themselves. It's the feeling that came with them. A feeling of scarcity, of walking on thin ice. The overthinking adult mind is often that same child, trying to be careful enough to keep the ice from cracking. This is why simple advice like, just stop worrying about it, falls flat. It's like telling someone to ignore a smoke alarm they spent years installing. The system is wired for alertness. It believes its constant analysis is what has kept things okay. To stop would feel irresponsible, like abandoning a post. The mind becomes a meticulous record keeper. It remembers the time there wasn't enough, the surprise bill that caused a crisis. It files these away not as past events, but as proof that danger is real and constant. Every future possibility is then filtered through this archive of past evidence. The brain's motto becomes, it happened once, so it could happen again. Prepare. This creates a paradox. The person is often financially responsible. They are rarely reckless, but the cost is internal. The energy spent on mental forecasting, on running simulations of disaster, is energy not spent on rest, on presence, on other forms of life. The budget may be balanced, but the psyche is running a deficit. The function is still protection, but it's protection based on an old map drawn during a different time. The terrain has changed, but the mind still follows the same routes, checks for the same landmarks, anticipates the same old dangers. It's a loyal system, a tired system, but above all, a system that makes perfect sense once you see where it came from. So what is actually happening inside? Psychology has a word for it: rumination. It's not just worry. Worry is about what if. Rumination is about why this and how come and what it means. It's the mind chewing on the same financial cud long after any nutrient has been extracted. The process is mechanical. A trigger, seeing a total at the grocery store, getting a utility bill, activates the system. The mind latches onto the thought. It doesn't just note it and move on. It begins an analysis. Why is it this high? Did I make a mistake last month? What does this say about my ability to manage things? The thought loops. It connects to other thoughts, older anxieties. It becomes a network of interconnected concerns. This is the hyper-analytical mind at work. It's trying to solve for X, but the equation has too many variables, and some of them are emotional ghosts. The thinking feels active, productive. It feels like problem-solving, but real problem-solving has an end. A decision is made. An action is taken. Rumination is problem-solving that goes in circles, believing that if it just thinks harder, longer, it will find the perfect risk-free answer. There's a moment where the person might stop and realize what they're doing. They might be in the middle of a simple task and find themselves mentally recalculating their quarterly expenses for the third time that day. There's a flash of frustration, a quiet, internal sigh. Not this again. But the mind justifies itself. It whispers, I'm just being responsible. I'm staying on top of things. It frames the exhaustion as the price of being a good, careful person. The rumination wears the mask of diligence. The physical toll is real. The jaw clenches. The shoulders creep up towards the ears. Sleep becomes shallow, because even in the dark, the internal spreadsheet is open. The mind is a machine that was designed for occasional high-alert situations. But in this pattern, it's been running on high alert for months, years. The engine is overheating, and because it happens internally, it often goes unspoken. You don't call a friend to say, I spent 40 minutes today mentally debating between two savings accounts. The loneliness of the first chapter deepens. It becomes a private theater where the same anxious play is performed daily to an audience of one. Yet the machinery has a purpose. It creates the illusion of control. In a world where so much is uncertain, the economy, health, global events, the mind zeroes in on the one thing it believes it can potentially control: the personal finances. By ruminating, it feels like it's holding the reins, even if the act of holding them is exhausting, even if the reins are connected to a horse that is, for the moment, calmly standing in its stable. The mind doesn't trust the calm. It stays ready to pull. What is the real cost of this? It's more than just feeling tired. It's a tax on perception. The mind, that is always forecasting financial weather, starts to see clouds everywhere. A sunny, stable present is viewed through the lens of a potential storm. This colors everything. Opportunities are seen first as risks. A chance to take a class, to invest in a tool, to go on a trip. The mind doesn't start with the potential gain. It immediately runs the numbers for the potential loss. It plays the worst-case scenario on a loop. The result is often a life that feels smaller, more constrained, not by actual circumstances, but by the mind's relentless simulations of what could go wrong. Joy becomes conditional. A nice dinner out is followed by a silent audit. A purchase that brings genuine pleasure is shadowed by a post-purchase analysis. Was it worth it? The question isn't asked with curiosity, but with judgment. The mind struggles to let an experience be just an experience. It must be justified, accounted for, filed properly in the ledger of worth. This extends to relationships. The person might hesitate to split a bill evenly, not out of stinginess, but from a deep-seated need for precise fairness, for control over the exact outflow. They might project their own financial vigilance onto others, misreading a partner's relaxed attitude as carelessness. A simple discussion about money can feel loaded, because for them, it's never just about money. It's about safety, identity, and control. There's a specific grief here. It's the grief for the person who could have been present at that dinner or truly relaxed on that vacation. The person who gets interrupted by their own thoughts. They are there, but not fully there. A part of them is always in the future, managing a problem that doesn't exist yet. The body keeps paying. The clenched jaw leads to headaches. The shallow breath becomes a baseline of low-grade anxiety. The sleep deficit accumulates. The mind, in its quest to protect the body from future financial hardship, is slowly draining its present resources. It's a trade-off. Hypothetical future security for actual present well-being. And yet, to the mind, this cost makes sense. It's a rational calculation. Better to be tired and prepared than rested and blindsided. The system is so focused on preventing a financial fire that it doesn't notice it's slowly burning its own fuel reserves. It mistakes the smoke of its own exhaustion for the sign of an external threat, which only makes it redouble its efforts. The cycle tightens. The function remains, but its efficiency is an illusion. It's like a security guard who checks the same locked door 100 times a night. The door is secure. But the guard is now too exhausted to notice the actual, more subtle threats, or to simply enjoy the peace of a quiet building. Understanding the pattern is the first step toward changing it. Compassion is the second. You don't dismantle a loyal, if exhausting security system with anger. You thank it for its service, and then you gently begin to update its protocols. The goal isn't to become financially careless. It's to introduce a pause between the trigger and the spiral. It's to separate the useful thought from the endless rumination. The mind has learned that every financial thought is an emergency broadcast. The work is to teach it that some are just routine notifications. A practical starting point is containment. Designate a time, maybe 15 minutes once a day, to do the financial thinking. Sit down with the numbers, the plans, the forecasts. Think actively. Problem solve. Then, when the time is up, you close the ledger, physically or mentally. When a financial worry pops up at 10 p.m., you acknowledge it. You might even say to yourself, "Noted. I'll address that in my time tomorrow." It feels strange at first. The mind will rebel. It will insist this is irresponsible. But you are not ignoring the thought. You are scheduling it. You are moving from a state of constant reactive alert to one of planned, proactive review. Another step is to question the function of the thought. When you find yourself recalculating the same number, ask, is this thought leading to an action, or is it just spinning? Is it providing new information, or is it rehearsing an old fear? Often, the rumination is just the mental equivalent of pressing a bruise to see if it still hurts. Recognizing that can drain its power. Also, reintroduce the body. The thinking happens in the head, but the anxiety lives in the shoulders, the chest, the breath. When you notice the cycle starting, feel your feet on the floor. Take one deep, slow breath. This isn't to make the thought go away. It's to remind the system that you are here, in a room, not in the catastrophic future it's simulating. You are grounding the forecast in the present. This is slow work. It's not about a grand gesture, but about small, consistent corrections. Like adjusting the course of a large ship, 1 degree at a time. The old pattern will reassert itself, especially under stress. That's okay. The point isn't perfection. The point is introducing a choice where before there was only an automatic reaction. The mind built this system to create safety. The new work is to show it that safety can also come from presence, from trust in your ability to handle problems as they actually arise, not as they are imagined. It's about shifting from trying to control every possible outcome to building a genuine confidence in your own resilience. The seedling doesn't worry about tomorrow's weather. It just roots itself in today's soil. The work is to learn how to do that, one breath, one scheduled worry at a time. The mind that overthinks about money is not broken. It is not flawed. It is a mind that learned very well how to be vigilant. It took its job of protection seriously. It built walls of calculation to keep uncertainty out. The exhaustion is the cost of manning those walls day and night. But safety can have a different texture. It doesn't only have to be the hard, cold safety of predicted numbers and controlled outcomes. It can also be the softer safety of knowing you can cope, of trusting that you have navigated hard things before, and you can do it again. It is the safety of resilience, which no spreadsheet can fully quantify. This shift is subtle. It's not about having more money. It's about changing your relationship to the money you have and to the future you fear. It's the understanding that while planning is wise, pre-living every possible disaster is a form of self-abandonment. You are leaving yourself here, in the present, to go and fight ghosts in the future. The journey ends not with the absence of financial thought, but with a change in its quality. A thought comes, I need to save for that repair. The old system would launch into a multi-hour simulation of poverty and failure. The updated system might note the thought, decide on a practical small weekly transfer to a savings category, and then return to the book they were reading or the conversation they were having. The thought is addressed, not entertained. There is a quiet compassion in this ending. For the part of you that learned to worry so well, for the tiredness you've carried. Recognizing this pattern for what it is, a protective strategy, not a personality defect, is a profound relief. It means you are not your anxiety. You are a person who developed a very specific skill for navigating a complex world. And now perhaps you can begin to develop another skill, the skill of release. The financial rumination may never fully vanish, but it can become background noise, not the main channel. The mind can learn that it is allowed to stand down sometimes, that the world will not collapse in the moments it is not actively forecasting collapse, that safety can also be found in the quiet of a breath, in the solidity of the ground under your feet, in the trust that you are capable here and now. If this exploration of the thoughtful, tired mind resonated with you, consider staying with us. Subscribing to the channel and tapping that notification bell means you won't miss our next conversation, where we quietly unpack other ways our minds work to protect us, often at a cost. Thank you for listening.